Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome. This is Dr. Mark DeBrinket, the Good News Doctor, and this is part 5 of our mini-series on healthy habits that we can do to boost our immunity and to protect ourselves and our family during these very uncertain times when it comes to so many people's health. So before I begin, I'm going to do my due diligence and read my disclaimer. None of the statements or materials in this talk or the whole mini-series that we've had all week have been evaluated by the FDA. Statements or representations are not intended to be diagnose, treat, or cure any disease. And none of the statements should be construed as dispensing medical advice or making claims regarding a cure or disease. Any health claims shared by my guest, host, co-host, or subscribers are understood to be true and accurate, but have not been verified. Results may not be typical and may vary from person to person, so you should consult a licensed healthcare professional before starting any healthcare protocol or health device, especially if you're pregnant or have pre-existing injuries or medical conditions. So with that, let me say that I have been so anxious all week for this day. This is my most exciting thing to talk about, and it's something that probably many of you listeners right now have never heard of before. So I have spent quite a bit of time putting together today's presentation to kind of give you the entire story of Vox Life and be able to share with you my passion and why it has become so important to me and my family in my life. And so out of all the things we're doing in this entire mini-series, this is one of the most profound things that you're going to hear and experience. And by far, one of the least expensive things that we can do as a person to keep ourselves healthy, to keep our brains healthy, and to build that immunity. So many of you know that, through my disability, the first step out of the darkest time in my life was through neurofeedback. And so we did all that brain training and I grew a bunch of tissues and got a lot of abilities back. And then once my neurology and my brain reconnected, it set the stage for everything else that came my way that was my next breakthrough, whether it was essential oils or whether it was PEMF or whether it was any one of the products that I did that I really had a great experience with. I did my own studies on the product to do my own brain map to see, is it really changing my brain? And so I'm so passionate about helping people that have been struggling, whether it's mentally or physically or disabled. And so half of my life is with my neurofeedback systems. I do home care. And so we help people do aggressive neurofeedback, grow a bunch of tissue and get some abilities back. And so there's no greater reward than seeing somebody have their next medical breakthrough. And so, of course, chiropractic is all bundled into my practice with the brain and the brain mapping and all of that. But the other half of my life, as many of you have known, has really revolved around today's topic. And so let me first explain how I kind of got introduced to it. So about 3 years ago, I had a friend of mine whose son was a patient. And she gave me a pair of Vox socks. Okay, now I know this is going to sound kind of crazy, but she says, hey, these are socks and they're actually called the brain socks. And so I know you're a brain doctor, so you should be putting these socks on all your patients. And so I kind of chuckled like, yeah, right, like brain socks. And so I got a pair and I wore them and I didn't really know how to evaluate them. I didn't really know what I felt. At that point, I was already pain-free, pretty much living my life of my dreams again, physically and mentally. And so I didn't really appreciate it for what it was. But over the months, she was curious and she kept asking me, what have I seen? What have I vetted? And so forth. So eventually I said, all right, let me just go prove that they're not brain socks. And so I ran downstairs and I put my brain cap on and I did a brain map on myself. And then I put the socks on and waited a few minutes and then did another brain map on myself. And honestly, if I would have seen a 5% change, I would have been blown away. Like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. It was a 48% chance, or 48% change. And so I literally stumbled and fell off my stool and got back up and thinking, okay, I must have put somebody else's brain map up in there. That can't be mine. So I thought I made a mistake and I deleted everything, uploaded again. And next thing you know, I was blown away. So now I set on this quest. I have to talk to the guy that created this. I don't even know if he knows what these socks are doing. And so I got a hold of Jay Dollywall, the owner of the company, and I shared with him what I've seen, and I made a quick little video to show him what my brain map looked like. And he came out and met me at an event I was doing in Atlanta the following week. And after that meeting, him and I were absolutely connected on the same mission, the same purpose. I get it. And he'd been trying to shout from the rooftops for years about this amazing technology. And he had already helped so many, over 1 million people, over 2 million people at that point, but they didn't have the ability to really know what was going on until we started evaluating the brain maps. And so I was hired as the vice president of clinical strategies about 2.5 years ago. And so half of my world is literally every week almost flying and going somewhere, being able to map major important people, whether it's professional athletes or college teams or CEOs of big companies or working inside hospitals doing class 2 clinical studies that they're in the midst of right now. It's been this wonderful experience that has just literally blown my mind, because every time we put the tech on somebody and we're showing them their own brain, you know, they all look at me and like, oh my goodness, why would I ever take this off? And that was exactly what I thought the first time that I saw my own brain map. So without further ado, I'm going to kind of give you a good summary of the entire company, of what Vox Life is, who Jay Dollywall is, and our leading products that we're changing people's lives with. And so if this is the first time that you're seeing this, sit back, because it's going to absolutely blow your mind. And so first I want to start by really just talking about the man that created and invented this amazing company and this amazing product. So his name is Jay Dollywall, and he's from Toronto, Canada. And you know, when he was a young boy, his mother got MS, and she went from like healthy super mom to wheelchair bound in like 18 months. And so it was devastating to the family. And so he was a data encryption engineer, and at a young age came into his fortune and then decided that it's time to fix mom. And so he literally spent over a decade taking his mom to every doctor around the world, any specialist that specialized in MS. And they all basically said, hey, sorry about your luck. There's nothing we can do for her. And so he really dug into the research and what's been done on neurology and MS and all of that. And he stumbled across plenty of studies that had a big breakthrough, but then never took it anywhere. And so after years of inducing what he got out of all those studies and putting the pieces together, he was able to find a way of tactile touching somebody's skin, the dermatome, a place that's connected to the brain, and literally send a signal, a code. So think of it like your garage door. And if you type in the correct code, hey, the door opens, you can move whatever you want in and out. But you could sit there all day not knowing the code and never have access to it. So our neurology is nothing but a bunch of code. And the way our human neurology works is much like computers were built, in the way that they code computers. And so there was a very much of a similarity there. He put the pieces together, and what we found was just amazing. And so by tactile touching either the bottom of the feet or the inside of the arm, we're able to immediately do a biohack on the brain and be able to change the brain's neurology in seconds and bring it back to homeostasis. So let me share, there's easy ways to benefit with this technology, okay? So it comes in the form of a patch, okay, that you would just put on your arm, or after the first day, you can literally put that anywhere on your body, and that will do what our human performance technology does. And that, you know, basically opens up the brainstem. We also have it available in insoles, where the design is literally 3-dimensional on the bottom of the insole that you're feeling And we also have socks. We have probably about 15 different types of socks. So whatever socks you like to wear, we have a higher quality sock that also has our tech built into it. So we wanted to be able to have the tech be very compliant in ways that people would wear it all the time and not have it to be cumbersome or something that looked silly. We also have knee braces with our tech built into it, and now medical grade compression socks that can even be covered through insurance. So this is our Vox Human Performance Technology. This was our flagship product. And this was the product that we already have over 4 million customers using. And for those of you that are on Facebook, you can go to Facebook and type in Vox Life Testimonies, and you will literally see a site that has over 45,000 videos of people that are just normal people like you and me. They're not up there trying to sell anything. They're not even distributors. They're just customers that love this product, and you're going to see them all sorts of crazy conditions, shakes, and then they step on the insoles, they stop shaking, okay, or what have you. You can type in any condition, and then it'll populate that in alphabetical order to those conditions first. So it really is an amazing product. We've already helped so many millions of people, but I personally have done over 6,000 brain maps in the last 2.5 years with and without this technology on, and I'm going to show you the results later today. So we also have another product, and this is called eSmarter. And this is a sleeve that boosts cognitive function. So it bypasses, the first product is brainstem. And when you balance the brainstem, you're getting balance and stability, but you're also getting the entire brain. Wherever the neurology needs help, that's where it's going. With our eSmarter product, this was designed originally because Jay's kids came back from college saying, hey, all my friends, you know, they have a hard time studying and they have to take medication in order to study. Isn't there anything you can do with your technology for them? So that's where this product was birthed. It was designed to help people concentrate and focus without having to use medication to do that. But what we found was it was doing so much more than that. So this is a biohack just to the cognitive networks. And so it's your attention, it's your focus, it's your memory, it's your visualization, it's your decision-making and all of that. And so we found that athletes put it on and got right into the zone immediately and could stay and perform at a much higher level. We found that musicians would get in it and get into the zone immediately and play effortlessly for longer and be like, seriously? We could put this on surgeons and they could be doing surgery all day and thinking, gosh, I thought we were only halfway done. You mean the day's over? I thought we still had a few more left. And so this has been an amazing product that I've had the amazing opportunity to meet many professional athletes and major companies and so forth, and really be able to share this amazing benefits. And they were all absolutely blown away because it's hard to not see it once you've seen the proof. Now, this next week, we're coming out with another new product that's been in development for over 2 years, and this is called Neurovax. We'll talk about this one a little bit later, but this is also a patch that's going to protect you and boost your immunity, and it's going to protect you from the harmful things in our environment. And so we'll talk more about that before the end. And then within the next month or two, we have a new sleep patch coming out that's going to help the REM sleep and really get you into that deep healing restorative sleep. So these are the products in which we deliver our technology, but the technology is just a tactile technology. So check out this quick video, and this is Jay Dhaliwal, our founder and owner.
Hi everyone, I'm Jay Dhaliwal. I'm the CEO and founder of Vox Life and the creator of Vox Life HPT. Today, I want to talk to you about our Harmony Neuro Patch. And what this product does is actually stimulates receptors on our skin, sending a neurosignal to our brain to help it reach homeostasis. This is the only product in the world that relies on the neurohaptic system that every single one of us has to optimize our neurology and optimize our health. Today, with the help of Dr. Mark DeBrincat, our VP of Clinical Strategy, we're going to be using an FDA-cleared 19-channel EEG headset, as well as FDA-cleared software to visualize, record, and show the impact that our technology has on our neurology and our brains to help it reach optimal performance. What we want to show today is how the Harmony Neuro Patch helps that dysregulated yellow, blue, and red colors in the brain maps transform into that healthy green homeostasis neurology that is the foundation of health and wellness. So what we're looking at right now is a neurological QEEG output of Mike's limbic system. The 19 channels are reading over 60,000 brainwaves a second and generating an output of neurofunction and brainwaves. What we want to see now is where that suboptimal red and yellow colors are. We want to see them turning as much as possible to a healthy green with the application of our HPT patch. So we've applied the patch now to Mike's arm, and within 10 seconds, you're seeing that predominant yellow and red become predominantly green. Just for clarification, ladies and gentlemen, there's nothing in the world that has this output at this rate of speed without drugs, without chemicals, without electricity. That's the power of Vox HPT. So when we see a healthy green neurology, what we're looking at is a brain and a mind in homeostasis. It is operating in its optimal function. And this is so important. And this is why it's so important. So Vox Life HPT, as we demonstrated with our neuro patch, helps the central nervous system reach homeostasis in our neurology. And the reason this is so important for overall wellness and health is that neurology is the top of the pyramid of our physiological health and wellness paradigm. First is neurology at the very top, then there's chemistry, then there's biology, then there's physics and mechanics. Neurology will have an impact all the way through our entire physiology. Healthy neurology, healthy body, better wellness. Just to show you a demonstration of the power of Vox HPT, how quickly it works and how efficient it is. And we're going to take a healthy green neurology and we're going to take the patch off. Dr. Mark, if you want to peel the patch off, let's see what happens. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And what we've seen now is the yellow and the red creeping back into the neurology. That's the power of Vox HPT.
So for stress and anxiety, we see this limbic system is over half red. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the patch on. And as we put that patch on, we're going to see the brain calm down and that limbic system turn green. So now he's got great control over that limbic system. He can hold it in that homeostasis state longer, which equates to a more peaceful day and a more restful, calm demeanor. So that is the power of our amazing HTP.
Hi, everyone. I'm Jay Dhaliwal.
Sorry.
I'm the CEO.
So one of the main reasons that I'm doing this is because of what I saw on my own brain map. But not just that. Since I've had this now for 3 years in my possession, I've been sharing it with patients. And the case studies that we see from doing nothing more than adding this HPT technology to their program, it's going to make whatever type of practitioner you are, all the different things, if you're just a person that's dealing with the circumstances, it's going to make all the nutrition, all the therapies, all the things that you're doing for yourself or that you're doing for your patients, it's going to make that happen quicker, more effectively, and last longer. So I want to share this case. This is a girl who's a young girl who has a condition called POTS. And so what happens is every 15 or 20 seconds or so, her brain would starve for oxygen and you would see these normal, healthy QEEG brain waves turn into this chaos. And the chaos would last for about 10, 15 seconds. And then she'd have about 20 seconds of normal and then 20 seconds of this. And so think of it when the chaos starts to happen, think of your computer when the little wheels start spinning and it's like, I'm thinking, trying to process something. That was her life all the time, every few seconds on, few seconds off. Imagine how hard that would be to thrive as a young adult and have a really normal life when your neurology keeps trying to reset itself because it starves from oxygen. So this was happening every 15 to 20 seconds for 3 minutes straight. And then we put the patch on and it only happened like 3 times in that 3 minutes. Or less. And it was only just for a few seconds when it did. So her neurology immediately started returning to homeostasis. But when we do neurofeedback with somebody and they train for 10 to 20 hours, we'll see anywhere from about 10 to 25% change in the brain's normal brain's neurology. And that would be very exciting to see something between 10 and 25%, because that means you're having a breakthrough, you're growing new tissue, things are happening, they're connecting, they're working again. we saw 66% for nighttime and 54% during the day, which is over double the results we would ever expect after hours and hours of therapy. And it happened in 10 seconds. This was unbelievable. So the top row here is her brain before we put the tech on. And in this scale, green is normal, red is high, yellow is off the charts high. So for 3.5 years, when I was confined to my wheelchair and on all those medications, this is exactly what my brain looked like. And I would train and train and train, and it would never change anything but yellow. And so I figured neurofeedback wasn't working for me. I was too messed up. I had too much damage. And I sat in the closet for a long time. To see something like this happen, I would not have believed it unless I did it with my own eyes and I was the one that did the map, because this is the most profound change I have ever seen. Now, not everybody gets this profound change. It seems to be the more problems you have neurologically, the greater response you're going to get. So on this screen, it talks about connectivity between right and left brain. We need to connect our brains so that we can make decisions and know what we want and not be indecisive all the time. Like, I like that, but I like that too. I don't want that. I don't want that either. I don't know. So she went from no connections right to left brain, which makes it very hard to be coordinated, to be able to catch something if it was thrown at you. There's just a lot of things like this that happen when there's a disconnect, to 37 of 40. That's unprecedented. That's unbelievable. Again, if I didn't do this with my own eyes, I wouldn't believe that it was actually real. So we have so many case studies like this, and this happens almost immediately. Now, imagine the bottom neurology now is going to get that adjustment. Now it's going to take those nutrients. Now it's going to do what have you. Neurology is the top of the pyramid. It controls everything. It's your number one most important system in your entire body. So this technology is amazing. It is all these wonderful things. There's no drugs, there's no batteries, there's no electricities, there's no copper wires, it's just a pattern. And the way that it's touching you, it's sending that signal to the brain. So think of it this way. If an ant crawled across your foot, that feeling would literally jump, that signal would jump to 7 different nerves before it hit your brainstem. Think of this technology as a cord that had all 7 codes or 7 signals in it in one. So you hit the cord, and it immediately opens up the entire brainstem. So super easy to use. This is what we've already found from all the different studies he's done for the last 10 years. First of all, pain relief, no problem. 1,000-person study, 940 of them were pain-free within 3 days. 70-something% were pain-free within the 20 minutes, and the rest took 3 days. Improved balance and stability. For those of you that have had somebody do a balance test, basically you're standing up and your arms are locked at your side, elbows and wrists and shoulders are tight. Think like grounded like a tree. And somebody will come lift up straight towards the ceiling under one of your fists and show you how easy it is to knock you over. When you have our tech on, you're going to be 8 times stronger. So they're not going to be able to budge you. And you'll know it. They're pushing harder and you're not trying. It's quite an amazing thing. So we know it improves balance and stability. And so if you're over 65 and you fall and break a hip, you are so much more likely to have brain problems with dementia and 12 times more likely to die that year because of the heavy metals that got into your brain from the injury. So it's super important that our loved ones that are elderly don't fall, right? We want to keep them safe and keep them healthy. Range of motion, 15 degrees, that's instant. And that's the difference between being able to walk up a step or get out of your car or not, or even out of your chair. When we talk about eccentric force and velocity of force and power, that can kind of be summarized into, if you had to get out of the way of something coming at you, how quickly could you do it? Okay, and can you do that without falling down? That could save your life if it was a car that jumped the sidewalk and moved at you. So it's those reflexes that become super sharp, and your ability for your neurology to respond is much faster. We also see physical improvement of life. Obviously, the pain relief, increased energy for so many people. Whatever your exercise performance is and your max output, you'll break your own records. And I'm going to have a guest on in a few minutes that's going to talk about that. Your endurance and your recovery. We have a clinical study going on now on knee replacement in the hospital, showing how much faster we can recover with the least amount of medication possible. And of course, our enhanced brain function, which I'm going to show you my results of that in just a moment. patch, and this is the Vox HPT technology. And we basically would put the tech on, do a quantitative map, and then have a baseline with no tech on, then put the tech on, wait 10 seconds, and then do the second map again. Okay, and so these are happening quickly. And we did over, I think, 240 maps in the study. And on average, 36% is what we're seeing in neurology change. Now, that's your entire brain's neurology. Remember, we talked about 5% change would be impressive. 10 to 25% change is a reason to go have a party. To see it 36% change is remarkable. I know 36% sounds like a small number. I'd rather see it 100%, but it's not the way neurology works. So here's some examples of what we're seeing. So now in these examples, you can see the scale down below. Gray here is going to be your normal. Okay, so gray is a healthy brain with reserved. The dark blue means it's 4 times too slow. So that's very delayed in trying to get information. So if somebody asks you a question, you're having to go back into the back of your mind, search through the filing cabinets, and then grab the answer. It's not just instantaneous. So we add our tech, and then we map again, and it's like it came right back online. So in this case, the person's brain woke up. Now, in this next case, we have an overexcited brain that is too stimulated. This is to the more stressed out person. We see that person respond to our tech where it calms it down. So it's not driving it one way or the other, it's bringing it to balance. It's clearing the nervous system, and your own innate intelligence knows how to deal with that and what corrections to make. So we peel away the gray matter. What you were seeing was your conscious control of the brain. Now we're looking at how well can you share information through the networks and the fibers that run throughout your brain. So in this case, we really shouldn't see any lines at all, okay, for a perfectly healthy, balanced brain with reserve. When we start to see the blues, there's a lag time in sharing information. And when there's yellows and reds, they're literally yelling at each other at the same time, and nobody's hearing one another. So either side of the spectrum is worse. And quite frankly, when we see both sides of the spectrum in one field, I'm a little more concerned because it could be a little unpredictable in whether I'm feeling stressed or depressed, you know, or either end of the spectrum of arousal. So how well our body has coherence and can share that information after we put our tech on, it's unbelievable. Okay, it's amazing to see this much neurology change. And, you know, medications won't do that. Just saying. So if you were feeling, let's just say, anxiety or depression, and you take a medication, now you're not feeling the symptom, but your brain would still look like it does on the left because your medication isn't doing anything to change your neurology. It's blocking and mimicking the way you're feeling. Big difference when it comes to ever getting off of it and ever getting past this time in your life that you're needing the medication for. So enhanced brain's neurology helps our brain deal with the stresses and the depression so much better, which absolutely affects your immunity and how well you have, how much workforce you have to fight for you. So the other side of the spectrum is somebody that's more stressed out all the time. They can put our product on and we can see this information flow calm down, right? And then we can see somebody that has autism, and when we put the tech on them, did a couple spin arounds and hit the floor. The mother looks at me and says, I'll have 1,000 of those, please. So very exciting, very profound. I'm in the airports all the time, and I'm always putting these on people that I see that are struggling and needing, and just watching them cry when they take a few steps and come back to me like, how did you just do that? It's a miracle. So I have another long-term study going on right now. We've published a couple studies. The first one I just showed you and the percentages of the brain change in certain categories. We have one for people that have literally worn the tech ongoing. And so this is a case of actually Ron, who I tried to just get on with you a few minutes ago. We couldn't get his microphone working. But, you know, being an ex-NHL player, he suffered from a lot of...
I found a pair.
So when I first met him a couple years ago now, this was his brain, and this was, you know, his normal brain for him. When I put the tech on and mapped him, it came down 2 deviations. So it was so much better. But then 8 months later, we map him, and his brain's back to normal again. Now, let me just tell you, especially for football players and
I
athletes,
put
people
like
with
little
concussions
speakers
and have
or,
any type of brain
I put speakers.
neurology damage, it doesn't just get better by itself. You have to actively be doing lots of things for your brain to try to heal it and change it. The brain's made up of the same cells you're born with, same cells you die with. And so the rest of your body is constantly turning over and replacing
Don't worry.
itself. We didn't even know you could grow new brain tissue until about 10 years ago. And so this is amazing.
Okay, no worries.
Same images from the side
We'll figure
here.
it out.
And
Okay, thanks.
that was the initial changes when we first did the map. And now this is 8 months later with no tech on. And so that is incredible. Compared that to that, his brain actually healed in so many ways during that year. When we look at the fibers that were inside that make up how well he could share information throughout his neurology, initially, significantly, the blue went away, the yellow went away. 8 months later, almost all of it went away. So it's not just Ron. We've done this on over 40 people that we have in our long-term study. And we've even had several people now that we've done for 2 years. And it's constantly and continually getting it better. So now I'm going to shift gears and we're going to talk about eSmarter. So eSmarter is another product from VoxLife, and it is this cognitive boost sleeve. The image on the left here is you see what the inside of the sleeve is, and it's, again, it looks like a thumbprint. On all of the technology, you're seeing the pattern in which is doing the code. It looks like a thumbprint. Well, that's because it is a thumbprint. The inventor, Jay, used his own thumbprint to hide the code that's actually behind it. And then he trademarked an identity theft, his thumbprint, worldwide, so he doesn't have to deal with patents and people fighting him for his patent. So this is bulletproof technology that nobody else could steal. Now, the way that this differs from the socks and the insoles and the patch is that this doesn't do brainstem like that product does. This does frontal and back of the brain, and that's memory and vision, and then decision-making in your thinker and your interactor all day long, okay? And so basically these are cognitive networks, but you need to be using that cognitive network to get the benefit of the tech. So we studied 10 different cognitive networks, the speed of the connection, how many nodes in the network you have to recruit for the network to be, quote, online, how much speed is going, how fast are they going and communicating, and how much are they communicating, how much data goes through there. So we see this to help people with stress, with anxiety, after trauma. Trauma damages the brain, drugs damage the brain and the networks in the brain. Your environment that you're living in can dysregulate the networks in your brain. And so this will help regulate all the brain waves in all the locations of your cognitive networks. So think of like an AM radio. Okay, if you're in your car, you're driving away from the antenna, you'll get to a point that it'll start to have static. Having the sleeve on allows you, theoretically or hypothetically, to go further from the antenna and still get the signal. Now, we're not really talking about your car and the AM antenna. We're talking about your body and your brain, okay? And so we can connect your brain to your body better and more efficiently. Now, this signal is doing a biohack on certain parts of my brain that are going to improve my cognition. And so originally this was designed, as I said, for people that had trouble focusing, but then it led into musicians and into athletes and into gamers, and everybody's been able to engage and do more than they've ever been able to do in the past. So I'm assuming everybody can still hear me. I'm looking at some of the chat there. So, so with that, another good analogy from there would be if you were driving in your car and there was a bunch of fog, okay, well, that makes things dangerous because now I really can't see until I'm right up on something, you know, but if I put the tech on, think of it like removing the fog. Now everything's become very clear. All the hazards were still there, the mailbox, the stop sign, the ditch, the car in front of me. It was all still there. I just couldn't see it. So now there's more clarity and it's easier for me to make the right decisions, okay? And so that is what eSmarter is. And this isn't necessarily a sleeve that you want to wear 24/7. By all means, you could. There's no side effects with any of these products. You don't like the way you feel, just take the socks off, just take the sleeve off. That's not the issue. But there is a comfort level to how long you want to wear a sleeve for. So I put this on before I'm driving, so I don't get upset in traffic. I'll put this on, before I'm doing my brain maps, when I'm having to do all my reports and I got to get into my cognitive mind to create and do all of that. I'll put it on at times when I need to. If I'm going to be playing the guitar or the piano or something, I'll put it on then. And certainly when I golf, oh my goodness, since I started golfing with it, I literally hit it straight. I don't have to shoot it that way to go that way. And it's absolutely made a radical change with my golf game. I've had the wonderful privilege of working with some pro golfers and some big golf companies doing brain maps with and without this, why they're live out there putting and going through series. And basically what we would see is even the pro golfers, they can get so in the zone real fast and easy, when they want to at will, right before they shoot. But then in between putts, their brain goes a little chaos, and then it gets back dialed in, and they do well on the putt. When we put our tech on, their brain would stay in that calm zone all the time, even when they're walking around between the putts. And so it was really phenomenal to see that. So we actually published a second study, okay? And this is on the effects that this sleeve has on the brain. And so this was super exciting to see because it even has more profound effect than the human performance technology does. In tune, 41% better cognition. So we did 2 maps. We had the person come in the morning without eating, basically fasting for over 12 hours, and would put the tech on, or we do a baseline map, wait 20 minutes, and then do the second map. And so again, the results we see are so phenomenal. And if I didn't do it myself, I may not believe it, just because I'm not up here trying to sell something. I'm trying to share that this company has turned me into a mad scientist, and I love doing clinical studies. And I've seen so much because there's no subjective in here. None of these images you're seeing have anything to do with any input from the patient. This is strictly objective. They're sitting there with their eyes open or their eyes closed, and I'm just listening very intently with this brain cap to over 60,000 neural synapses every second, every 100th of a second, and building our 3D images on that neurology. This is FDA cleared equipment. It's used for research all over the world, through the military, through everything. And so this is the best equipment we could get to know exactly what is going on. So we saw the cortex go from a little hot spot to slow. Now here we're looking at something called the anxiety network. So your head, your brain is made up of all these Brodmann areas, and each one of these little purple dots in the picture is a Brodmann area. And each one of those areas has a very specific neurological function. So if you had damage there, you wouldn't be able to do that function. Now we have networks, over 100 networks in the brain, and that's when several of those Brodmann areas recruit together and form a link of communication to regulate a network. This network's called anxiety. So ideally, you shouldn't see any lines, just a bunch of purple dots if you had a beautiful, healthy brain, okay, and no anxiety. When you start to have lines here, these nodes are talking, yelling at each other, the yellow ones, and the blue ones are slowing down and not talking to each other. So that makes that network not run right. And the net result is I feel symptoms of anxiety, okay? So when we put our tech on and wait 20 minutes, the net result is the entire network's back online and thriving. Okay, and so people don't feel the extreme of that nervous system, whether it was anxiety or whether it was the depression network. Different network, our tech wakes it right up, okay, brings it back online. We have our attention network. This is how well I can stay focused on a task and remember locations, features, and details to things. We put this on, we see this come 100% back online. Again, that's what this technology was built for, to do that. What he didn't realize it was going to do was it was also going to enhance 10 of the other cognitive networks in the brain at the same time. This is one of my favorites. This is the executive functioning network. This determines your working memory, your mental flexibility, and your self-control. don't we all want a little bit more of that? Okay, when this network is healthy and online, all of those things are not an issue. So here I want to show you one screen just to kind of wrap it up, that when we do the okay, so let me go back. So with this one, we have the baseline. And so this was a patient that had a concussion, okay? And so they got hit in the back of the head, that's the red spot. Then the head inside the brain bounced off the front of the brain and then went back in the direction it was hit. That's the momentum when you have an injury. We see the red spot as impact, and the blue is where the brain bounced off the skull and came back at it, and it caused a shearing of two different types of brain tissue. Hence the blue, and now we have slowed down. So typically, you only have so much time to turn those nerves back on, otherwise it becomes permanently damaged. So you hear about a lot of football players and professional athletes that had concussions back in the day, and then 10 years after their career is when everything fell apart, because now they lost those connections altogether. You know, initially, some of them are lost, but most of them are just turned off, okay, like a switch. So when we put the socks on, it was amazing. We saw the back calm down and the front wake up. But the back went a little bit too calm because now it's a little bit blue in the back. But that's just, again, trying to find that homeostasis. Now remember, the socks had to fix the brainstem first. So whatever it had left over, it was going to go deal with the rest of the brain. So in this case, it had more left over for the front and not enough left over for the back. But then we took the socks off, so the brain looked just like the first one again. And with the socks off, we put the sleeve on. Now we can see the sleeve had a much greater effect in the front and back of the brain than the socks could, because that's what it's designed to do, straight there and do all of its work. So if the sleeve is on, and then we add the socks back on the fourth image, we see the two sides that were blue, we see them come back online. And so both technologies work amazingly to do things in the brain, but together they work better. They're not contradicting each other. The HPT technology is going to fill in wherever the weakest spot is and wherever you need the help. The sleeve, it knows exactly where to go. It's going to help cognitive boost. And let me invite Ron Hoover to come on with us. So Ron is an ex-NHL player. He used to play for the Boston Bruins and for the St. Louis Blues, and then had about an 18-year career in the medical field revolved around hip and knee replacements. And so he had since, I don't want to steal his testimony, but left his career when he saw all that was happening with this company and with this product, and has gone full-time with Vox. And so him and I have literally traveled through the UK and Canada and the US and done tons of events and amazing studies and been able to share this product with the world together. And so I really wanted to have him on and share his quick story, and then also tell you about his son and what he's been going on. So welcome, Ron. Thanks for joining us today.
Hey, Mark, it's a pleasure to be here. Give a quick little testimonial. I think Mark was earlier just talking about my past. Was fortunate to play some hockey, professional hockey, back in the days with the Boston Bruins, and in the early '90s, and it was quite an experience. Made it all the way to the Stanley Cup semifinals. But you know, after my hockey career was done, had a number of different concussions, and after that, I followed up and spent a number of years in healthcare, and I spent the last 10 years in healthcare with Stryker, doing, like Mark said, everything from hips, knees to trauma. And near the end of my career, I saw, you know, people who had more issues, more things like pain, poor health in the past. Obviously, wait times and everything are longer. There's more obesity, diabetics. You know, people are on a lot of medication now, and there's a cascade of negative effects. And at the end of that, I had the good fortune of coming across one of my best buddies, Terry St. Ammon, who called me up one day and said, "Hey, I've got this amazing product and I've got to come over and show you." So I was the biggest skeptic, and he did the lateral and dynamic stability test. And for me, you know, after playing hockey for 9 years, I had a lot of chronic pain, broke my fibula and plate screws back in '96. My left hip was been bothering me, obviously from 40 years of golf and hockey, continuous repetitive motion and standing in the OR for all those days. So I found that the tech made a great difference, not only for me in pain management, but also for energy at the end of the day. I started seeing improvements with people who had the tech on, obviously myself and my son, Matt, with hockey and golf, but I started to see other people also having improvements with things like plantar fasciitis, diabetic neuropathy, post-op and hip and knee things, hip and knee surgeries that were doing better. So people with balance stability issues, MS patients and how they did. And once you see people improve it and take a step back to where they were, this is something that you can't unsee. I recognize this and the importance of fall risks, having been in the operating room for all those years and seeing thousands of surgeries and the devastating effect, not only on them, but also on their families. Today it's even more relevant to stay out of the hospital. We don't want to be anywhere near those places, especially what's going on. So like I said, what sold me were the brain maps. Dr. Mark presented some of the findings, and it's incredible when you see what's going on and the changes are happening and you can quantify and see what's going on. So Mark asked me to allude or talk a little bit about my son, Matt, who's a Division I hockey player. He started using the products when they first came out, our no-shows and our knee-high socks to play in. And, people always used to ask me, why is your son so strong on his skates? He's got amazing balance and stability. He always had great strength and stability, but this elevated his game to another level. And fortunately, he had some great success this year. He's one of the top players in his league, nominated for Hobie Baker, and eventually signed a pro contract at the end of the year. So this was very exciting. And, when I played back in the day, I would have used anything to just get the slightest advantage. I'm wearing my sleeve, Dr. Mark showed earlier, my eSmarter sleeve. I've got my patch on. So, if I had those things back in the day as a professional hockey player, I would have gladly accepted something that is going to elevate my performance, my optimized neurology, and my recovery. I also just wanted to talk briefly about, him having labral hip surgery in the summer and coming back off that. He would have probably missed his final year of playing hockey had he had come back here and had to have surgery. As soon as he was out of the OR, he put the patch on, and it was an amazing recovery to see what happened with him. He wore the product 24/7. He had didn't use any major medications. His swelling was almost non-existent, and his time to return was only 5 months, exactly at the Division I level, which is, pretty much ahead of the curve. And like I said, he went on to have an extremely successful year. So those are a couple of things I wanted to talk about. I think we mentioned also doing demos. Kevin Duguay has done a great job of posting those online. I love to do demonstrations with people, especially in the gym with lateral flies to fatigue. You can see people when we use our amazing insoles, they go and do the tests, and they can get upwards of 20% or more from doing flies to fatigue, and then they step on our technology and they find they can do extra. So there's a lot of things that amaze me about this fantastic technology, and I've been amazed ever since I came on board. What Jay's done and his passion and the mission that we have to help a billion people and our neural path to faster wellness is certainly something that I'm proud to be a part of. There's a lot of exciting things coming down the pipeline. Mark alluded to with Neurovax and a few other things that are coming down the road. So some exciting times. We've seen a lot of amazing things that have happened in the past. And I think Mark's touched on most of them. So anyway, I'm going to sign off, Mark. So you can't hear me, but I'll turn it back over to you.
Thank you, Ron. I really look forward to hearing that when I get to listen to this recording. But I'm really glad that we were able to work that out. It's been an honor working with you. I have so much fun every time we go do an event, and just, it's so great. It's like I think of Jay. He's known about this for over 10 years. Can you imagine I mean, every day my faith grows stronger. I see how many more people I can help. I get more and more excited. And to think that I've only known about this really for 2.5 years, knowing what I know. And of course, we learn so much more every single day and see things that just continue to mesmerize us and help a lot of people, which is super, super exciting. So I am really excited to share this next product. And this is called Neurovax. Now, it was a couple years ago when we were at CalJam, which is a big chiropractic event in California, about 5,000 chiropractors. And there was a lot of stuff on children with autism and a lot of lectures, you know, about vaccinations and you know, even chemotherapy and what that does to the neurology. And so Jay set out to create something that will protect our neurology in the event we had to get a vaccine or chemotherapy or be exposed to something that we know isn't going to be healthy, but for some reason we need to do it. This is something that is going to protect your nervous system. So Vox Neurovax basically is a patch that triggers optimization and harmonization of the autonomic nervous system and the communication loop between the brainstem, your vagus nerve, which connects your brain and your gut, your thymus, which is immunity, and your spleen. And it generates this innate neurosignal that's decoded by the central nervous system. And this is all based on pattern theory and the hepatic neurocoding. There's plenty of research on that. So this isn't just a made up thing. He just able to figure out the code to connect all of those together. And this is going to be revolutionary, especially in the time now when we have so many threats against our immunity. And this isn't a ploy to try to make something off this virus that's going around. We're not claiming that this cures the virus and this is, you know, this is the end all to save the planet. However, this does boost your own natural immunity. And when it all boils down to it, that's the best bet you have, is to do things to boost our own immunity. And that's why we put this whole series together, so that we know how we can make our neurology better, our chemistry better, our biology better, and down to the physics and mechanics. Because when we look at neurology and immunology, there's been a lot of advances, and there's parallel advances in the neuroscience and immunology between the anatomical and the cellular, okay? There's a bidirectional interaction that happens between the nervous system and the immune system, affecting the thymus, the hormones, the antibodies, the white blood cells, the bone marrow, spleen, lymphatic. All of these things are signals that are bidirectional. We're going back and forth between the immune system and the glands. And so, like other physiological systems, the immune system and the development of immunity is modulated solely through neural reflexes. And so when we enhance the neural reflexes and make them, let's say 30 to 40% more efficient, your immune response is immediate. The job gets done quickly, okay? We talked in the previous talks in our series this week that as we build up immunity and have reserved, we are faster to respond in the things that we need. If we're sick and dysregulated and unhealthy, you know, we're trying to deal with that. And now threats are going to get in under the fence and are going to cause a bunch of havoc. And so it's all about us continuing to do what's right. You know, I'm not saying you can put this on, you don't have to have social distancing and stop washing your hands and all of that. That's just ridiculous. We do things like this, like I would taking supplements to boost my immunity as well. I just want to make sure I'm covered on multiple bases to make sure my neurology is good. Because when your neurology is good on top of the pyramid, that changes the chemistry. You know, you have over 400 million pieces of data coming into your brainstem every second. You have over 65 quadrillion chemical reactions take place every second. The chemistry is solely determined by the information that the neurology says it needs. It's just that simple. So if you correct the neurology, you're getting better signals, you're getting the correct chemistry. With the correct chemistry, we can build healthy cells and the correct biology that then has the physics and the mechanics that goes into it. But the top 3 parts of that pyramid are solely based on our immunity, our neurology, chemistry, and biology. So we have happy thoughts, we have a connected brain. This leads to happy and healthy chemistry, which builds happy, healthy bodies, right? And so it all boils down to that. And so this technology is going to be in a patch, and it's going to last for 2 to 3 days when you need it. Unbelievable. So in summary, the definition of neurofeedback is literally any input we give the body that actually has a physiological change on the brain. That's the definition. Okay, so Vox Life, actually the HPT and the CBT both provide neurofeedback on a slow, consistent basis all the time. This is remarkable. This is worth writing home about, okay? Now, the definition of biofeedback, for those of you that don't know, is again, any input we give the body that causes a physiological change on the body. Well, we already know it's doing that. My pain goes away. My feet feel better. I have better balance. These are all body things, right? So both of them together provide neurofeedback and biofeedback on a slow basis. There is nothing else in the world that does this. Nothing. We don't have competition. There is nothing in the whole market that does what we do. This is a wearable neurotech company that enhances your neurology, improves your chemistry, and enhances your overall biology and well-being, okay? This is amazing. So, like I said, I've had the distinct opportunity to meet some amazing doctors, show them our tech, brain map them, do all these wonderful things. And I just want to highlight a couple of them because what they said is really so profound. This is Dr. Zach Bush. He's a triple board certified medical doctor, deals with gut health is his main focus. And farming, organic farming, teaching people how to convert their farms back to organic. And so he says that basically our current technology environment is bombarding our human body with all sorts of foreign electromagnetic frequencies. And so just like meditation is to the psycho and spiritual wellness, the Vox Life socks provide a small space of silence for listening, for your body to reconnect to its original math. That was so elegantly said. Now, Dr. Robert Thatcher, 2 Lifetime Achievement Awards, he created the hardware and the software that we use to do all of this brain mapping. And so he's one of the godfathers of neurofeedback and brain mapping. And he basically says, hey, we need to rewrite the textbooks now, because he had certain parts of his neurology. He wrote seven textbooks in neurology, and there's certain chapters that say you can't change certain parts of the brain, without neurofeedback. And now they know that we can and are. And so he says, in simple terms, it's at least a century ahead of our current understanding of neuromodulation, which I thought was, an honor in and of itself. And then many of you know Dr. Joe Mercola. He basically said this is the only tech that he knows that radically and quickly improves our QEEG, and it's safe and affordable literally for everyone. Now, Jay, the owner of this company, he could have sold out a long time ago for any amount of money he wanted once we known what this is doing, and he refuses to, because then these socks would be $100 a piece and everything would be super expensive for the elite and the wealthy. He wants to help God's children, okay? We all need help, and this is the greatest medical breakthrough we've ever seen in the last century. So as I mentioned earlier, we had the ability to go do several colleges and teams and athletes, and it's just been an amazing time to be able to work with these athletes and for the college to see the validity in it and literally offer it to any of their athletes. And then I already told you the story with the LA Kings. And so you can watch videos of that on the Vox Life website. So it's time to let Vox Life pull out that Olympian in all of us, right? It allows us to reconnect to that original math and make us the best person that we could absolutely possibly be. So now that you're in the know, hopefully you're getting it on a much deeper level than most people would just by saying, hey, you should try these socks. These are brain socks. You know, I don't suggest using that. It's all about the technology. Okay. And so the socks are basically free. You're paying for the technology in the sock. Okay. And so it's not expensive, you know, retail $35 to $50 depending on the sock or the insole. The patches are designed to be $2 a day for people to be able to get the benefit of that. And they're going to last a few days as well. So what's next? I can't stress this more importantly, but get back to the person that sent you to watch this video. Get back to the person that's been trying to talk to you about Vox Life and you've been too busy to listen. This person's been trying to help you and they have nothing but amazing things to show you and radically change the course of your health picture. And so get the tech, get it on you, wear it 24/7. It's so important that you keep it on so that those changes become permanent. Yes, that's what I said, permanent changes. We're doing a 1 and a 2-year study to show you the effect of how much better your brain is now than it was 6 months ago, a year ago, 2 years ago. Imagine 5 years from now. Is your brain going to be forgetful? Are you going to be slow? Are you going to be not as sharp and not as active as you once used to? You know, your brain is your #1 asset in your life. If you don't protect it, you're going to lose everything. Nothing else matters. Once your brain doesn't function right and you can't control your emotions and you can't sleep and you can't, you know, function neurologically, it doesn't just get better by default. Okay, we have to work at that. This is a solution that literally the entire planet can afford and should be using 24/7. And then we encourage you, join the revolution to help change healthcare for 1 billion people. Don't be too shy to just hand a patch to somebody in need. I've given away so many patches, so many socks just because they need it. And I know they need it. You know, when's the last time you found yourself doing something just because you know somebody needs it, you know, without any type of hidden agenda? So think of it this way. You have the ability to restore hope in a time when so many people have lost it and really need it back quickly. The first way to get it back is to get your brain back online. And we have such an easy solution to do that by sharing an amazing, simple product that most people wear every day anyway. You might as well be wearing it with tech built into it. With that, I thank you guys for coming on today. I apologize for going a little bit too long, but it's such great information and I wanted to be able to put it all into one place to give you the information for you to turn around, make wise decisions, and change the path literally for so many people that you know, that you love, and that you care about. For everybody in my world that's close to me, they've been wearing the socks 24/7 since they met, you know, and it's sad that too many people have to see their own brain map to have that aha moment, like, oh my gosh, I'm never taking these off, am I? And I'm like, well, that's your decision. So, you know, my goal is to try to make things simple for people to understand so that you could see that and be like, oh, well, that makes total sense. Within a year from now, Vox Life and this HPT technology will become a household name. Okay, everybody that has it loves it. In, as I mentioned, over 4 million people in less than 0.5% return or exchange rate. So the product works 100% of the time. People are happy. You just have to have it on. So with that, tune in next week when we talk about cellular communication on Monday. And then on Tuesday, I have a very special guest speaker, Dr. Charles Stanley. And he had recently done a sermon. He's on TV every single week on Sundays. And his sermon last week was having victory over fear. And it was so touching and so moving that he agreed to actually come on and have a conversation with me about that. So I'm super excited to wrap up our mini series with the good Dr. Stanley. And until then, I wish each and every one of you a wonderful, happy day. God bless.
Thanks, Mark. Dr.
Thanks,
Mark.
Ron.
Did it.
Bye now.
Great job. Thank you very much.